not think to look at that beforehand. I can tell you from my experience when I was on the in-house side, New York, for example, has standards, but they were, I mean, in a populated area, they were really de minimis standards. I do not know what Connecticut's are, and I will look at that as well. Hopefully they're more robust than what I recall from New York. We also don't know, how many people are going to seek coverage through the exchanges, and we have a number. That may be a good guess. It may not be a good guess. We don't know. We don't know where the people are going to come from. Whether they're going to come from products that were, you were getting paid Medicaid rates, or you were getting paid commercial rates. So, how do you determine whether or not what they're putting on the table is a fair amount? So all of it is difficult to figure out, and I regret I don't have an answer for you as to whether or not it makes sense. What I can tell you, and it seems like some of you have already figured out, in fact I think most of you already figured out, what protections are there out there, what can you do to try and protect yourself here. So my first point was to go home or go back to the office right away and check your agreements and make sure you're keeping an eye out for amendments that come in the mail. But I think, obviously from this level of discourse here, you guys have already done that. So I apologize for that, obvious statement. You obviously want to look at your non-renewal and termination without cause rights. So if you have been put into this product already, you want to look at, all right, and you decide that you want to get out at some point, you want to look at what's in your contract. Can you non-renew at some point? What are the notice requirements for you to terminate without cause at some point, in case you have second thoughts. For those payers who've already proposed amendments, the thing you want to look at first, also, second, I guess, is did they do it right? Some of you may have contracts which require them to do it in a way that you mutually agree to it and sign an agreement. And I can tell you, I've seen in New York, I've seen another plan go out with an amendment to some of the hospitals, which they intended to be a unilateral amendment, that we are putting you in the network at this rate unless you object. And they simply didn't have the right to do that. The contract required any amendment had to be signed by both sides. So I can guarantee you they are not necessarily looking at everything on their side to figure out whether or not they have the right to do that. They're making certain assumptions. They're going to send it out. It's up to you to be vigilant. If they do have the right to do it unilaterally, did they do it right? Did they give you enough notice? Did they send it to the right place? Did they give you enough time to object? You still have the right to object. I think a lot of these went out. I know the Anthem, I think, went out in the end of January, right? So we're outside the 30 days there. But whether or not, I don't know if everyone got it at the same time. So
we only sent like one letter.
What's that?
We only received one letter out of 24 positions that we have. Just one letter.
Well, it depends on your contract, I guess, whether or not you have an individual contract or a group contract.
No, it's a group contract.
Well, it's a group contract. The letter would come to the group. Is the compensation adequately described? Now, I think this has already been brought up by someone. I know I saw one payer that described it as a percentage of Medicare, and then